Now I want to bring in our U.S. Report regular, former White House Chief of Staff and Senior Advisor at Bondi Partners, Mick Mulvaney. Mick, great to have you here tonight. Now, Ron DeSantis, he's been a pretty busy fella. He's recently launched a new book at an event in West Palm Beach. You were there, I understand. Apparently, a lot of Trump supporters showed up.
Yeah, they did. By the way, James, it's always great to see you, and thanks for having me. There were a lot of folks there whose faces I recognized. There's about 150, 200 people. It was the largest DeSantis supporters and donors, and I counted at least 10 or 12 folks who I had seen in the Oval Office with Donald Trump. Now, that by itself is not indicative of the fact they might support DeSantis instead of Trump should the two men run against each other for president, because after all, the event was in Florida. Most of these folks live in Florida, and Ron DeSantis is currently the governor of Florida. So those folks could be pro-DeSantis and pro-Trump at the same time. But still, you did get the feeling, the general undercurrent there, even amongst the hardcore Trump supporters, was that they were looking for something else, and the first place they were looking was Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, and this new book, The Courage to Be Free, it's shooting to the top of the bestseller lists. I think it's #1 on Amazon now. And he's even got fans here in Australia. This is on page 2. Here he is talking about his approach to the pandemic. He writes that at the height of Australia's draconian lockdowns, a man from Sydney wrote to my office saying, "There isn't much hope right now here, and many of us fear what our leaders have in store for us. I look to you and your great state of Florida for hope during this dark time." Thank you for standing up for us. Now, first of all, Mick, I got to assure everybody that was not me, the man from Sydney who wrote to Ron DeSantis, but he's really playing up this idea that Florida is a beacon of freedom, isn't he?
He is. And of course, it's the reason he's at the top of the list. He's in all of the debates. He's earned a place in the discussion about who should run for president as a Republican because of the really good job that he did during COVID. Again, this is sort of the informal mantra down there is instead of "Make America Great Again," which was Donald Trump's hook line, it's "Make America" or "Make America Florida." That's sort of what they're talking about there, using the Florida example. In fact, the theme of the meeting was the blueprint for Florida, and you could tell that they were laying out the case at this meeting in Palm Beach, both Casey and Ron DeSantis together, that the blueprint they used to sort of make Florida great could be extended nationwide.
Yeah, and tell me a bit about Casey DeSantis, who would be Florida's first lady and would potentially, if Ron DeSantis won, America's first lady. How has she been presenting herself, and has she been getting out there on the stage, making herself known? I know that the family, they paint a very attractive picture, but tell us a bit more about Casey and what she's been saying.
Yeah, I know Casey a little bit. I obviously don't know her as well as I know Ron because, we didn't work together, but I played golf with her. She's an excellent golfer, by the way. They put her up in a policy position for an hour. She ran her own policy discussion for at least, I think it was actually more than an hour, on the initiatives that she had been running in Florida, a lot of them having to do with sort of coordinating government social efforts with private charities. And she did that for a good, solid chunk of time in a way that most governors can't do. She's a viable political candidate by herself right now. If Ron gets run over by a bus tomorrow, God forbid, Casey DeSantis could run for and win the governor's office in Florida. That's how capable she was. And you got the sense that part of the underlying discussion at the conference was, wow, look at these folks. Wouldn't they make a great first couple in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, that's amazing. And also, I noted that in the Wall Street Journal this week, Ron DeSantis wrote this piece called DeSantis versus Disney, why I stood up to Disney. And I tell you, within hours of the thing going on online, I had about 5 people send it to me, all saying, hey, this is a great piece. Read this piece. You got to talk about it on the show. Now, tell us a little bit about what he said here, why they took on Disney, but also how this is part of a broader strategy of essentially appealing to normal Americans against woke corporate America.
Yeah, Ron's come under a little bit of criticism for this, even from some Republicans who think it's not right that you would use the power of government against corporate America. And again, there's a longer discussion, James, about the current friction between corporate America and the Republican Party. But I don't think Ron sees it like that. I think if you asked him what he did, he said, look, I just took away certain benefits that the government had given this corporation because this corporation was now deciding to play politics. Corporations in this country used to sort of stay in their lane. They'd get involved in policies that impacted them. So Disney might get involved with tax policy. when corporations like Walt Disney started getting involved with things like abortion and LGBTQ stuff, which is cultural and has nothing to do with their underlying business, it makes a little bit of sense to sort of say, you know what, if you're going to play politics with you, we're going to take away the benefits that politics has given you in the past. So it's part of this discussion about Ron trying to bring some sanity back to the party, trying to be a little bit more normal. There's just he's speaking to people in a language they understand on topics that they agree with.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that, you point to that, I guess you could say libertarian wing, or some would say country club wing of the party that doesn't want any of that sort of stuff even brought onto the public stage. But I frankly thought it was amazing to see so many Democrats freak out that Ron DeSantis, oh my God, took tax breaks away from a giant corporation.
It is, and the world is upside down, right? You've got Democrats defending large corporate America. By the way, it goes to that larger theme I've just mentioned, which is the corporate America is looking for a friend right now, and they're trying to sort of cuddle up to the left. And in doing so, they're really upsetting the right. This goes to the larger ESG movement that we have here in corporate America right now. So, yeah, you find this very unusual, unexpected circumstance where the Democrats are protecting big business, and that means American politics is flipped almost all the way upside down.
Well, I mean, I think we've spoken about this many times, Mick, both on and off air, about how in our lifetimes, the right has become the party of the working man and the left has become the party of capital, both here in Australia and in the U.S. But Ron DeSantis, he's also making big pushes against DEI or diversity equality and inclusion in the universities there. And also, I think he's making big moves about investing government funds with, barring companies that are making big ESG, environmental social governance pushes from investing in Florida. Tell us a bit more about those efforts. And I mean, is this giving hope to a lot of Republicans who thought it's great that Trump is out there raising the issues, but this guy is actually fighting tactically on how you actually make that happen?
It was actually a big part of the conference that we were at Palm Beach last week. What he was trying to do was say, look, I lost the Hispanic vote in 2020. This is Ron DeSantis now. In 2018, he lost the Hispanic vote. He lost the women vote. And what he decided to do, instead of doing what Democrats might do, which is target those groups with concepts that they think might appeal to them as a smaller subset of the population, he tried to go after policies that he thought everybody would be for in Florida. So attacking ESG, attacking DEI, attacking the LGBTQ sort of critical race theory, that was transformative to Republican politics in Florida. James, he won by 20 points in a state that typically is 1 or 2 points either way. And one of the largest themes of the meeting was, look, good policies make good politics. We did not try and cater to these folks. We didn't try and sort of kiss up to them. We didn't sort of try and schlep to them. We just made good policies for everybody. And lo and behold, they won Hispanics by a huge margin. They won women by a huge margin. They won the election by a huge margin. So I think that's what he's sort of laying out, is that, look, if you want to be president, you want to be governor, you want to be good at what you do, have good policy, and the votes will follow.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's politics 101, but amazing how many people forget that. But on this question, then, the ultimate thing looming here, is Ron DeSantis running for president without running for president? And what's his strategy? How long can he actually stay formally out of the race before he has to jump in?
I think he's under a little bit of pressure from his donors to maybe get in early, because they think if he does that, it will sort of prevent other people from running and sort of clear the field. Everybody who's against Trump is worried about the same thing, which is Trump can be beaten one-on-one, but cannot be beaten 6-on-1. So folks are sitting there going, oh, no, Nikki Haley's already in the race. Mike Pompeo's talking about it. Mike Pence is talking about it. And they're encouraging Ron to go early because they think that will discourage the other people and thus sort of shrink the field. I don't see it like that. I think Ron is right to wait. There's no real benefit politically, legally, or financially to declare early. He can raise money right now in his PACs and other super funds and so forth. So he's got the opportunities to raise money. He's got a plenty large enough national sort of platform. He's on this book tour. I was on the other side of the state just this morning before I came to Las Vegas, and there's 1,000 people waiting in line to sign his book in Florida. So he's getting huge crowds as it is. He's on by the way, he loved the fact he was going to be on the New York Times bestseller list. He said that was his goal. Put his name to the top of the list. So listen, he's doing all the right things. If he decides to run, he's clearly the front runner amongst the challengers to Donald Trump.
Well, you know he's the front runner when the New York Times and everybody else is working up those pieces that say a Ron DeSantis presidency would be worse than Donald Trump. Mick Mulvaney, thank you so much, as always, for your insights. Really appreciate it. We'll speak to you next week.